So President Trump was asked about the feud between Democratic leadership and Justice Democrats. And I'm not at all surprised with his take here. Some people are, but let's take a look and then we'll break it down.
Well, I think Cortez, who kept Amazon out of New York, and they don't like her for that, thousands and thousands of jobs. I think Cortez is being very disrespectful to somebody that's been there a long time. I deal with Nancy Pelosi a lot, and we go back and forth, and it's fine. But I think that a group of people is being very disrespectful to her. And you know what? I don't think that Nancy can let that go on. A group of people that came from, I don't know where they came from. I'm looking at this Omar from Minnesota. And if one half of the things they're saying about her are true, she shouldn't even be in office. But Cortez should treat Nancy Pelosi with respect. She should not be doing what she's doing. And I'll tell you something about Nancy Pelosi that you know better than I do. She is not a racist, okay? She is not a racist. For them to call her a racist is a disgrace.
Okay, so let's break this down. First of all, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was asked about that because I think from what she said in the past, people implied, The Hill wrote a big headline that said Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says Nancy Pelosi is racist, or like, oh, won't let young women of color speak up, something along those lines. So reporters went to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez after this fact and asked her, hey, do you think Nancy Pelosi is racist? She said, no, I don't. So this was misreported, and then now in the aftermath, people are still running with that. Now, I said in my original segment on this where I touched on this, I said, don't make it about race at all, because then the conversation becomes, is Nancy Pelosi a racist? And that's where all the focus is. And it misses the actual picture and the reality, which is Nancy Pelosi a capitulator to Republicans? And is Nancy Pelosi a corporatist? The second you make it about race, then that's the entire conversation. It's about race, and you look ridiculous. You meaning Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But if you kept your eye on the ball and focused on, this has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, are you a capitulator to Republicans giving them everything they want? And are you a corporatist? Are you weak? Well, then you win that conversation all day long. So notice now, because the original reporting, this is what Republicans will seize on. This is what mainstream media seized on. And he keeps repeating it. Oh, she's not a racist. She's not a racist. She's not a racist. Great. It's a moot point. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez agrees. She mentioned that to a reporter, I think from CNN afterwards. So now you could argue, hey, she should have been more clear early on. Fair enough. And I agree with you on that point. But now that's a moot point and we can move on from it. So I'm going to show you Trump's tweet in a second, but first let's respond to some of what he said here. Notice how he literally has no argument. He says, oh, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez being disrespectful to Nancy Pelosi. She should show her respect. That's not a point. That's not a point. And no, I find it incredibly condescending and pedantic that these older lawmakers are making points like that, which sounds more like a parent saying to their kid when they're in the back seat and you're on a long family drive, turning around and going, oh, pipe down now, kids. Show respect to one another. Show respect to your elders. It's like, you're not actually making an argument. You're not making a point. You're just saying, this is what I would like to have happen. I would like to have you be quiet. I don't give a fuck what you want. I got news for you. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a congresswoman. Her voice is massively important. Doesn't matter that she's younger than you. Doesn't matter at all. That's totally irrelevant. Oh, she should show respect. Show respect? No, you know who she shows respect to? Her constituents. That's who she's showing respect for, and that's why she's fighting back against the likes of Nancy Pelosi, who just gave you everything you wanted at the border and took Mike Pence's word on it. Like, we'll address some of your concerns later, but just shut the fuck up. She should show some respect. She's a grown-ass woman. You might not like her, but she's a grown-ass woman. She can make her own decisions, and you're not making a point. Imagine it worked in the opposite way. AOC comes out and says to Nancy Pelosi, you should show some respect. Or AOC says to Trump, show some respect. Everybody be like, what? What a weird thing to say. Like, do you actually have an argument to make, or are you just going to, like, randomly try to tone police and mood police people? You're not saying anything. That doesn't mean anything. It's like, you know you have no point, so you just want them to fall in line. So you're like, show some respect. By the way, he also says that she's not liked because she killed the Amazon deal in New York. The reason she killed the Amazon deal is because she's against corporate welfare. She doesn't want massive amounts of taxpayer money going to fund one of the richest guys in the world, might be the richest guy in the world, Jeff Bezos, over $100 billion, and New York taxpayers like myself have to pay for a helipad for this asshole? She killed it because she's against corporate welfare. What happened? I thought you were against corporate welfare. I thought you were against big government. Unbelievable. And then, now let's get to his tweet, because he said, this Ilhan Omar, I don't know where they came from. You don't know where they came from. Here's what he said. So interesting to see progressive Democrat congresswomen who originally came from countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe, the worst, most corrupt and inept anywhere in the world, if they even have a functioning government at all, now loudly and viciously telling the people of the United States, the greatest and most powerful nation on earth, how our government is to be run. Why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? Then come back and show us how it is done. These places need your help badly. You can't leave fast enough. I'm sure that Nancy Pelosi would be very happy to quickly work out free travel arrangements. He literally is making the go back to where you came from argument. Now, let's say I was a congressperson and I went after Trump. What are the chances he would say something like that to me? 0, right? Because I'm a white dude. But for these women, yes, women of color, there's a reason why they're singled out, and there's a reason why these arguments are used. I got news for you. He says these congresswomen should go back to the countries they came from. 3 of the 4 that he's talking about are from America, are born in America. And Ilhan Omar is the only one that's not, but she's also American, and she's a congresswoman. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, they're from the United States of America. So 3 of the 4, and he says congresswomen. So plural. In his mind, he just thinks, I don't know, they're not white, so foreign enough. Go back to where you came from. Look at the mindset. The mindset is, the default is, well, come on, this is America. It's white people. It's white people. So you're, a woman of color, a progressive woman of color. I mean, just go back to where you came from. Those countries have problems. Go help them. But they're American. By the way, in a weird way, Trump is correct by saying the governments where these congresswomen come from are incredibly corrupt and inept. That's right. But that's because they're from the United States of America, and you're the president of the United States of America. Man, imagine being so dumb and so xenophobic and bigoted that you type out the tweets that he typed out here, and you hit send, and it doesn't even occur to you as you're going through it, like, oh, maybe I should just double check real quick and see where they're from. Because, again, it's not about that. It's about foreign enough because you're women of color. So that's automatically put in a different category from a true American. That's the thought process. And notice he did this to Barack Obama, too. The reason why he became a political figure at all is because ever since he was on The Apprentice, he would go around giving interviews talking about how maybe Obama's not born here. Maybe Obama's born in Kenya. I mean, can we see the birth certificate? Obama had already shown the birth certificate, and Trump would go around doing shows saying, he won't show the birth certificate. What do you mean? He's got to show the birth certificate. And then, Obama showed the long-form birth certificate, the short-form birth certificate, and everything in between. They even had an announcement in the Hawaii newspaper from when he was born. And Trump's like, let me see the college transcripts. Ugh. It's almost like, by default, his assumption is, you're not white, so I'm supposed to think you're American? That's ridiculous. Obviously you're not. Come on, let's be serious here. And he's letting that be known to the world. He used the laziest bigoted argument you've ever seen. Go back to where you came from argument. Go back to, okay, so Rashida Tlaib, go to Detroit. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, go to the Bronx. That's what it is. Unbelievable. Like, you would think they would at least evolve a little bit and dog whistle a little more. This is a human whistle. This is a fucking foghorn if I ever heard it. You would think they would evolve it a little to cloak it a little more, but no, he's using the go back to where you came from, and he's using it to 3 or 4 of them are born in America. And the one that's not born in America is still American and still loves this country. And when she critiques this country, Ilhan Omar, she's trying to make it better. And notice, Trump can run on the slogan, make America great again, meaning it's not great right now, we got to make it great again. It's not good now, it's bad now. But then if Ilhan Omar comes along and says, this country, we're not doing well in this country, they go, oh, you hate America, love it or leave it, get out of here. She's saying the same thing. She's saying, hey, the country's not in a good place right now, we got to fix it. But somehow that's perceived differently than when Trump says the same thing. I wonder why. That's just the saddest thing I've ever seen, man. That really is. So notice how little he actually has to say. Because the final point is, why is he siding with Nancy Pelosi and not even really giving an argument as to why? I'll tell you why. He knows he can work with Nancy Pelosi and get some of what he wants. That's why. So it's easy for him to chime in on the side of Nancy Pelosi here. Nancy Pelosi literally, in the fight that sparked all of this, Nancy Pelosi gave the Republicans what they wanted on the border. So why is he siding with Nancy Pelosi? He'll get a lot more done with Nancy Pelosi. The claws are out more so for the people who are going to fight him tooth and nail on virtually everything. So that is the real logic behind it, the real rationale behind it. But notice when he has to actually form a coherent argument and not say the quiet part loud, that's the quiet part. What does he say? You're disrespectful. Show some respect to your elders. Show some respect to your elders. And go back to where you came from. Wow. Really embarrassing, to be honest with you. I mean, this is incredibly embarrassing. So, but you know what? Go ahead. Keep going. Because the more you and the more Nancy Pelosi come after these new uncorrupted Democrats, the higher their profile becomes and the more people like them. So it's going to have a backlash effect.